Honorable Minister Erlangga Hartarto, Minister for Industry for Indonesia, Honorable Hiroshige Seiko, Minister of Economy, Trade and Industry of Japan, Honorable Ambassador Arifin Tasrif, our Ambassador to Tokyo, and Honorable Hiroyuki Ishige, Chairman of JETRO, and distinguished ladies and gentlemen, konnichiwa. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to address all of you on the latest update about the investment climate in Indonesia and what we've been doing over the last several months and over the last several years. First, I would like to highlight that Indonesia continues to be a safe, a stable, and a reformist country. The tragic events of the last few days and even the last few months remind us that, unfortunately, we can no longer take even safety for granted. But thankfully, Indonesia continues to be an extremely safe country. At the same time, under President Jokowi, we have reached a very good level of political stability. The coalition of political parties which he has assembled has 70% seats in parliament, and thanks to a good government performance, today President Jokowi enjoys 68% approval ratings. So we enjoy a measure of political stability as well. And I'm happy to report that with the many reforms that President Jokowi has implemented, we are easily on track to be the most reformist government that India has seen in 10 and possibly 15 years. I think the world is acknowledging the progress that we've made. Over the last several years, we have improved our rankings in the World Bank's ease of doing business. When President Jokowi first took office, we were ranked number 120, and since then we have steadily improved our ranking, so that in last year's index we climbed to ranking number 91 out of 180 countries. So obviously a very good improvement from ranking number 120 to become ranking number 91, and I'm confident that with the continuing reforms, we expect to climb into the 80s and possibly 70s in the next 1 or 2 years. On our sovereign ratings, earlier this year, Standard & Poor upgraded our sovereign rating back to investment grade. This marks the first time in 20 years that Republic of Indonesia is once again rated investment grade by all three major rating agencies, S&P, Moody's, and Fitch. United Nations, UNCTAD, also published their survey recently, survey of multinational corporate executives around the world. And there again, we see a good result. Indonesia climbed from previously ranking number 8 to, in this year's survey, ranking number 4 in terms of the intended destination for corporate investment. And The Economist magazine also likewise published its Business Outlook survey early this year, and in Asia, among investors, we're third behind China and India in terms of being a top destination for investment. I feel that Japan is an old friend, and of course that is very much reflected in the investment numbers. Japan is technically the number 2 largest investor in Indonesia. Number 1 is Singapore, but considering that Singapore is a financial hub which collects investment from many places, very, very possibly and most likely Japan is actually our number 1 investor with a total stock of investment amounting to around $21 billion over the last 5 years, according to our data. These days, it's difficult to talk about economic development in the Asia Pacific without at least touching on the so-called One Belt, One Road initiative. Now, the One Belt, One Road initiative from the government of China is today easily the largest infrastructure development program in the world. A lot of analysts expect between 500 billion US dollars and $1 trillion of investment will be generated in various infrastructure and industrial projects under this Belt and Road initiative. Now, our government has made our position very clear, which is that we want to participate in this program, but we also want these projects to be open, inclusive, and transparent. We want partners from Europe, we want partners from Japan, we want partners from America to join us together with partners from China in developing these projects. It's a very exciting vision tying together Asia, the Middle East, Europe, and Africa in the new 21st century Silk Road and 21st century Maritime Silk Road. I believe it's a tremendous opportunity that we must capitalize on. In other areas where we're seeing a lot of progress, tourism is doing very nicely. It's an area which was much neglected before President Jokowi made it a top economic development priority for us. Tourism arrivals are now growing double digits, something like 50 to 20% per year. And I'm happy to note that tourism investment is growing 35 to 40% per year. But it's still a relatively new sector. It's growing faster on a small base, surprisingly, for such a beautiful country as Indonesia with so many island paradise. But still a very large sector in the economy, of course, is manufacturing. If you look at the investment realization over the last few years, manufacturing still represents by far the largest share of international investment and domestic investment. And of course, Japanese industry plays a very, very important role in manufacturing investment in our country. That's why I think it's very appropriate that Minister Erlangga and our Ministry of Industry have selected automotive industry, electronics industry, food and beverage industry, and industrial estate and industrial districts as the major focus for today's event. I think what is really different this time, in addition to the big focus on deregulation, improving ease of doing business, improving our macroeconomic stability, is the amount of infrastructure which we're building. Our colleagues a bit later in today's session will, without doubt, touch on the thousands of kilometers of toll road which are under construction, the many ports which are under construction or being upgraded, the many airports, and so on. But relevantly for Japanese industry and manufacturing, we have analyzed that this infrastructure development will sharply lower our logistics costs and logistics expenses. It will also tie together our very large country more effectively. As most of you or many of you know, Indonesia is the largest maritime economic zone in the world. We're an archipelago of islands, and infrastructure is very, very important. Ladies and gentlemen, beyond industry and trade, there's so many other areas where Japan and Indonesia are currently collaborating. We are partners in some of the largest oil and gas blocks in Indonesia. Oil and gas blocks like Mahakam Block and Masela Block. We are working hard together to realize a historic port development project called the Port of Patimban, which is located nearby Japanese automotive industries east of Jakarta. And I believe the people-to-people relationship is stronger than ever. So I believe that right now is an extremely exciting time in our bilateral relations and in our economic cooperation. And I look forward to welcoming all of you to Indonesia and to continuing to work closely with all of you to make all of your projects and investments in Indonesia a big success. Thank you very much. Arigatou gozaimasu.